What's up, people? How are you? Listen, I want to talk to you today about one simple thing that every woman in the world wants this. And so does every man, believe it or not. It's called freaking listening, right? Listening is super duper importante, right? That's my fancy word for saying it's vital, it's important, it's critical, right? So if you do not listen, you will miss what the person is saying. Now, I know that sounds rudimentary or basic, but a lot of people just don't listen. I've personally, even recently, experienced situations where I've explained what I want again and again and again and again, but sometimes we kind of, it's just human nature, I think, or especially maybe it's an American thing, I don't know, and maybe it's not an American thing, but I think that and it's not an American thing. It's definitely not an American thing only, because I've experienced this in other places as well, or other cultures, where people are only thinking about what they can get, specifically, only, right? And so a person could be talking, but they might as well be talking in another language because we're not listening. We're strictly thinking about how we can get what we want. In this case, we're talking about sales. And you can relate this to any profession whatsoever, any area of your life. If you do not listen, right? If you do not listen, you will lose the person, right? It could be your significant other. It could be your patient if you're a doctor, right? It could be something simple as sports, right? And if you're not listening to what the person is saying, you're going to miss out, and you're going to end up basically creating friction in terms of business, or you're not going to be able to get the result that you promised you said you can get if you are a consultant, right? If you're selling a product or something like that. In many cases, I like to put things in writing, right? If you put things in writing, it's actually true. There's so many cases where, especially in the online marketing world, where people are promising this, they're saying that, and then, after the money is paid, right? Then no one's saying anything, right? The person really wants to talk to you, or was assume this or assume that. And I think if you're not a person who's super structured, right? If you're not a person who is really about making sure that your clients have a freaking resolution, I think that it's best that you put things in writing, right? And even if you're on the buying end, I would say to have things in writing is super important. This eliminates any confusion, any hearsay, any woulda, shoulda, coulda, or what I thought I heard, or what happened was. It eliminates any and all of that. So here's how listening is important if you're in a relationship, right? And I know we're talking about business, but I think the way you are in life is the way you are in business. And I keep saying this again and again and again, especially with guys, man. Guys lie so much, man. I don't even understand. A grown freaking adult man lying all the damn time, which I don't understand. Why must a grown man lie, right? I mean, I can see if you get ready to go to jail, maybe, but if you're lying in terms of like business or something like that, and unless you're doing something that's like criminal, I don't understand why another man will lie, right? You're not going to get a whipping, you're not going to get beat up or anything like that. Just if something doesn't come through that you said should come through, or maybe you've made a mistake, and even in your personal life, I think whether it be a woman or a client, they would just appreciate you just suck it up and say, you know what, I made a mistake. I didn't come through, right? I wasn't able to call you. I couldn't communicate with you. Not that now all of a sudden you're able to communicate with me, through any means necessary 2, 3, 4, 5 times a day after supposedly not being able to communicate with me for weeks and weeks. And the reason I'm talking about a personal experience, but I don't want to mention any names because that's not the purpose here. The purpose here is to learn how to freaking listen, right? And so here we go. Let's say we're in a relationship, right? And your significant other is consistently telling you again and again and again certain things that are bothering her. And I'm using a woman in this case because I'm a man and I love a woman, in particular my wife. And she's consistently telling you what to do or what is bothering her, right? At some point, if you do not listen, right, and every man in here knows, if at some point it's going to blow up, right? It's going to come to a point where she's super freaking frustrated. She may flip out. I pray for you, right? If you have the kind of woman who flips out and screams and goes crazy, I cannot take that, right? I am blessed, right? I am solely blessed. I don't have that. But, everybody's different, right? People express themselves in different manners. And it comes to a point where she just blows up. And then you wonder why she blows up, right? It's because you weren't freaking listening, correct? Now, it could be reversed, right? And it could be a man consistently telling a woman, and women normally do listen. They are good listeners. I must give women that, right? And I think that's why children gravitate to them more so than the father, is because they are such great listeners. They're very, without being, super subjective about it, without judging them, and I'm not saying that a man is not wrong for judging, because we do have to protect. You can't just let any and everybody come through your home or your area or your space, right? So as men, we have to do that. At least that's how I feel, right? Where women may be a little bit more open to letting all and everything come in. But they have developed themselves to become great listeners, right? Very nurturing. And a lot of times, being a good listener, you can find out everything you need to know, right? I mean, literally everything you need to know. What the wants are, the needs are, the problems are. You can even find out things that people don't know about themselves just by listening to them talk about their various issues, right? And it builds trust, right? Someone who listens very well and asks a few questions here and there and maybe make a few suggestions here and there, for some reason it has a tendency to build trust, right? Because if people feel like you care, right? And we're not talking about, saying whatever needs to be said just to get, in the sheets that night, or just to get the deal, that day and never see the merchant, the client again. So we're talking about genuine, ethical, listening here. And if you can build that rapport to the point where they trust you, I mean, the sky's the limit. When I say the sky's the limit, not just about how much money you can make, right? I know some people are running around like, well, I made 20 and I made 25 and, you should, charge way more, blah, 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 blah. I'm not talking about that. We're talking about the sky's the limit in terms of how many problems you can resolve, right? If you are a problem resolver, you will always be in business. Always, right? Always be in business. So now let's look at it in terms of business, right? Let's say you go to a doctor's office, right? You go to your doctor's office and you just walk in there, you sit in the chair, whatever it is they have you sitting on, the bench or whatever. And the doctor comes in, spends maybe 2 minutes with you, right? And then before you know it, he or she has prescribed you something, right? They haven't even listened to anything that you really said, but they have a checklist, right? They get this checklist. You got that. They check the ears. They check your nose. They check your mouth, right? They put something, the stethoscope on your heart or whatever, and they ask you maybe 1 or 2 general questions that sounds like they ask everybody those questions. And then next thing you know, they prescribe you something. More than likely, you're going to go to another doctor, right? Most people trust doctors blindly because we've been ingrained by the American Medical Association to do that. But the thinkers, in my opinion, the outliers, the people that think outside the box, I don't think they just trust everybody and anybody blindly, right? So it needs to be somebody that you really feel comfortable with, that you build trust with, right? Or that builds trust with you. I think that's the doctor that you continually go and see. And it's the same in business. It's a simple concept, but I think we make it complex because maybe we get so focused, maybe through training, or just we just need something ourselves so bad. We get so focused on our self-interest that we don't take the time to listen to our clients. And so what happens is we start a relationship. Let's say it's an online relationship, right, or offline, right? It could apply to either one. And this person is telling you what the issue is. You're like, yep, yes, yep. You're yesing them to death. Yes, I got you. No problem. I'll do it. No problem. And then it comes to a point where they're like, hey, you didn't fix the problem. You can't even freaking remember what the problem was because you were never listening in the first place, right? Which is not a good space to be in, because it's going to show very clearly that you were in it just for the quick hit, right? I like to use that term, the quick hit, because that's really what it is. Whether it's business or personal, it's just a quick hit. So I say The solution to that is simple. Shut up and listen, right? That's one solution. The next solution is to have a follow-up procedure, okay? Have a follow-up procedure. Hey, I'm calling you back or I'm emailing you back. Some people hate to talk to people over the phone, or they just hate to talk to people because they're so focused on what they can get, right? So those kind of people, you need to have a follow-up system, have an email system or something like that, right? Not like some, and hopefully you have like a professional email system, not like a Gmail account or a Yahoo account or something like that, but have some kind of like system in place where it follows up with your clients. If you generally don't really like people that much and you don't like talking to people or being quote unquote bothered. I don't know why a person would not want to be bothered after they make the sale, because you need people, right? But anyway, and there's nothing wrong with automating systems either. If you're the kind of person who wants to automate because you want more free time, or you just don't like, being bothered and talking with people all day, that's fine as well. But at least have some kind of system in place where it's either you or someone else following up or responding to your clients to make sure they are taken care of. And it could be simple things of, hey, did we resolve the issue? Are you getting what you asked for? Is everything going in the direction that you expected for it to go in? And if you do those simple things, they will tell you, well, yes, or no, or maybe this could be different, or maybe that could be different, right? And also, it also saves you time, because sometimes people change their mind. I know a lot of people will say that, well, hey man, you bought something for me, and that's not what we spoke about, or that's not what, okay, fine. If that's the case, to save yourself time, then if you set it up initially where you're listening properly and you're making notes of what was said, right? Actually what was said, so that both of you can hear it. When you follow up, now you can go over those same points so that you're not maybe, you're charging for one thing, but now they're having you doing double and triple the amount of work, right? So you want to make sure that you have some kind of system in place, whether you're one man or 100-man operation, right? I remember when we started off and it was just myself, right? Then it was myself and my business partner, right? And the follow-up was crazy. I think we probably even gave better follow-up then. But then when we began to scale and it became 5 people and 10 people and 15 people and 20 people, 30 people, 40 people, forget about it. You must have a system in place. And the good thing though is that some of those same clients that I had initially when it was just like a 1 or 2 man operation, I still have them today. And I think it's because I would genuinely followed up with them and actually heard them out. So the moral of the story today is to listen. Listen at home, listen in your business, and remember, be genuine, because I honestly believe, and I know this for sure, not even a belief anymore, that the way you are in life is the way you are in business. The way you are in your personal affairs is the same way you are in your business affairs, right? So try your best to be super genuine, right? Develop listening skills. Sometimes just don't talk. Hello, hey, hi, how are you doing? How may I help you today? What problems may I resolve? And then zip, be quiet, and just practice the art of listening. Not listening so that you can have a rebuttal or you can smash their objection, but just listen. Listen carefully. A lot of times people will mention their objection and they will also mention to you what they want you to do to get past the objection. So you don't have to memorize a whole bunch of objections and quotes and closes and this and all of this other stuff, right? Selling should be just as natural as anything else that you really enjoy to do. And I think one key to selling is genuinely liking people. And a lot of times that has to do with simply just listening, right? You can listen online electronically, right? For the people who don't like a lot of people, or you can listen via phone, or you can just look out there for the problems that people are consistently complaining about. So with that, I thank you for listening. Check me out at KhaazRa.com, Instagram, KhaazRa.Marvin. I know I got a long freaking name. Hopefully you'll find me. Thanks for listening. Bye-bye.